Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action and Merry Boxing Day, I think. That's when this video should be going out. Alright, we are still in the last dregs of Depth December. So we've hopefully got 3 Depth December decks lined up just for this week. I'm only going to be doing 3 videos this week because, hello, it's Christmas. So there's only 3 videos going up. But they're all going to be Depth December ones, I think. So today we are playing Black-Green Turbo Depths, or Golgari Depths. So we played Turbo Depths deck before that was like a rainbow version. This is the sort of more old school black-green version. So it has a lot of the same pieces that you've seen before. So we've got Lotus Petals and Elvish Spirit Guides to help accelerate us out. We've got obviously the Dark Depths and the Thespian stage and the Vampire Hexmage to combo off. We've got Disruption in the form of 4 Duresses and 4 Thoughtseizes. We've got 4 crop rotations to go and find all of our bits and pieces. We've got 3 Pithing Needles to help dodge Wasteland, among other things. We've got 4 Not of This World, so we're really leaning into these to try and push our guy through. We've got 3 Sylvan Scrying to try and find ourselves our combo pieces. We have 1 Sylvan Library, just as like a card to sort of power through and maybe recoup if our initial plan fails or just find the last piece of protection we need. And we've got 2 Into the North, which is the unusual card in this list. So what this does is it searches your library for a snowland and puts it onto the battlefield tapped. So in terms of snowlands, we have got 3 different snowlands in our deck. We have a snow-covered forest, a snow-covered swamp, and 4 dark depths, because this is a snowland. A lot of people forget that. It sometimes is relevant, and Into the North is one of those reasons why. So we can accelerate ourselves out as well by using this. So it isn't just into our hand, it's into play immediately, so it can kind of let us cheat a turn ahead in terms of when we get our Dark Depths up and running. Aside from that, we've got more or less what you'd expect to see. So because we are a black-green deck, we've got these 4 fetch lands kicking around here. The Verdant Catacombs variety, which can find our snow-covered forest, our snow-covered swamp, or one of these 2 bios. So we have 4 fetch lands, 4 fetchables. We don't really need more mana than that, so that should be okay. We've got a singleton Bojuka Bog, as is pretty standard for any deck with crop rotation. We have a singleton Ghost Quarter, which makes sense for Dark Depths decks because we're going to be putting Pithing Needle on Wasteland, so Ghost Quarter can hit things like Glacial Chasm or Maze of Ith or Karakas. We've also got the singleton Sejiri Steppe, which can be used to push our Dark Depths through, or our Merit Lage token through whatever our opponent's got in play, or defend it against a kill spell. So we've got this alongside the 4 crop rotations and the 4 Not of This World, so we've kind of got 8 protection spells. Now, 4 of these double up as tutor pieces as well, but these are just dedicated protection. Then we've obviously got the discard, so we should be relatively solid in terms of trying to push through our 2020. We have 3 Urborg, not 4, because we're not playing any Mox Diamonds or anything like that, so having a 4th one can be a little bit of a liability. It does mean that the classic turn 1 Urborg Thoughtseize, turn 2 Dark Depths Hexmage is going to be a little bit less likely. But that's basically the deck. It's kind of similar to one I played before, where I actually had the wrong Urborg in my deck, but it's sort of more into the Golgari colours. When we go to sideboard, we've got some tools that aren't really a surprise here. 3 Surgical Extraction. It's a turn 0 way of interacting with the graveyard, but also it can be useful against Source of Plowshare matchups, where you can just hit all the plows out of their deck. Now, whether or not we'll be doing that seems unlikely, but if we're playing against like a control deck with plows and counter spells and Uros and things like that, so we've got other targets to be using our extraction on, then yeah, we can do that, and it's just an option we have, but it's more likely going to be there for some of their other business. We've got 2 Sylvan Safekeeper, just as more protection if we need it. 3 Force of Vigor to nail Blood Moons and things like that. 3 Abrupt Decays. Because we're a dedicated green-black deck, it shouldn't be too difficult for us to make sure we can cast our Abrupt Decay if we're against a deck that's going to be playing Blood Moons or Magus of the Moon. So because of Magus of the Moon, this lets us kill that as well. And, you know, there's all sorts of other things we might want to kill with it, and it's uncounterable. So we can, instead of having to try and find our spot and discard our way through to make sure we can resolve our thing to get rid of the bit, whatever's causing us troubles, we can just do it and not worry about it. We also have 1 Damping Sphere and 3 Thorn of Amethyst. These are more or less for the same sorts of things. So this is just trying to make Storm decks harder to go off. And this is going to be doing more or less the same thing. If you're not familiar with this, this also shuts down Soul Lands, because we're not a Soul Land deck. That should be interesting. I'm not sure these are the options I would go to. If I wanted to beat Storm, I'd probably just have 4 Mindbreak traps. But this is what the list that I saw went for, so that's what we're going with. I think this was a 5-0 list that I saw. I thought, yeah, why not? I haven't seen a deck with Into the North for a while. Let's give it a whirl. So yeah, this is Into the North Turbo Golgari Depths of some description, but it's one of the last December decks we're doing, so I hope you enjoy it. But before we do that, it's time for a quick plug. Like, subscribe, comment. These are things that cost you nothing, but help me out in a big way. So why not do them? All right, with that done, let's jump into a Legacy League with the Green-Black Turbo Depths. Okay, we're on the draw here. We can assemble our combo if we want to, and we have 2 pieces of disruption. This hand is okay. That's about all we can say about it. If we draw a Vampire Hexmage, we can go off on turn 2. So this is fine, and we'll keep it. Our opponent is called Grindstone Cowboy, so I'm possibly expecting some amount of Painted Servant out of our opponent. But we shall see. Dryad Arbor, that's not in Painted Servant decks. So we have a choice here about which land we play. If we play the Urborg, we have the chance of drawing into the Vampire Hexmage and making the 2020 next turn. So I think we do this because we can always follow up with a basic next turn anyway. Or a Bayou. So we're just going to Thoughtseize our opponent and see what they're working with. Okay, so they're elves here. So we've got a Glimpse of Nature and a Green Sun Zenith. So next turn they can play Green Sun Zenith and draw, play Glimpse of Nature and draw 1 card. So I think the take here is the Green Sun Zenith because this is the thing that lets them cheat on mana more effectively. Quirion Ranger can cheat on mana as well, but it has to return a forest to untap creature. So I guess they could play this one out. So they could play out a land, tap it to play Glimpse of Nature, play out a Misty Rainforest. Play out the Quirion Ranger with the Dryad Arbor, bounce this, and then play the Nettle Sentinel. So they can get multiple cards. So this is a draw 2 effectively. But we do only have a Duress to follow up with, is the problem. How likely is our opponent to Green Sun Zenith next turn? This question. We can take the Quirion Ranger and then next turn follow up with a Duress. Quite like that actually. We're going to go with that one. So our opponent's probably just going to Green Sun Zenith this turn. But then we can take the Glimpse out of their hand. They're not going to be casting Green Sun Zenith and Glimpse, so this means that our Duress will have a target next turn. Okay, so the Misty's gone, they've got Forest. Okay, black and green. Do they draw a Fiend Artisan or something? Okay, no, so it's just the Green Sun. So we can hit the Glimpse next turn, and our opponent's going to be choked on resources for a little bit. And hopefully we can just go about assembling our combo. This deck is a deck that can race us, so having a bit of disruption here is useful. Hexmage. Okay, we can just make a 20-20 on this turn, which I think is worth doing, unsurprisingly. So this has to crack into... We'll probably get a Bayou. Doesn't really matter, I don't think, here. We're a little bit all on in this play anyway, so let's crop rotate this away. Get ourselves Your Friend of Mine, Dark Depths. Cast this off of black. Black. Our opponent has 1 turn to kill us. They don't usually play anything that can block a flyer. They've got 4 cards in hand. One of them is Glimpse. So there's the Glimpse. Sorry, clicked the wrong one there. Right. Okay, so there's the Nettle Sentinel, which was the other one in hand. So they need to find a mana producing elf. If they do, then that means they can start funneling more stuff into play. If this is like Heritage Druid, it's pretty bad for us. A Green Suns. Okay, so this is going to get them a Heritage Druid, which means they can cast the rest of their hand, most likely. Now, and they'll be drawing cards when they cast these things. So we'll see. They didn't get a card off of this one, thankfully. It's not a creature spell. So there's a Heritage Druid. There's 3 mana. There's Allosaurus Shepherd. That's fine, because they're probably not attacking into us this turn. They only have 1 elf that can attack anyway. It's just a case of if they can keep going and natural order us. We can soak up a lot of natural order damage with our 2020 though. And they only have 3 attackers maximum here. So it's going to be difficult for them to kill us from this spot, I would say. Not impossible. But save you on this. So in response, we will remove these counters. And we win because we get 2020 and bash them up. Alright, sideboarding. Now this is a matchup where I would like to have things like Plague Engineer would be the ultimate thing to have here, but that's not really a thing we're going to have. So we've got these Damping Spheres and we've got these Abrupt Decays. Now our opponent is probably not going to be interacting with our 2020 a great deal. So Not of This World isn't something we're really going to need this matchup. So I think that's a pretty clean 4 for 4 here. The Damping Sphere, if you're not familiar with it, so this will stop their Gaia's Cradle tapping for lots of mana. And it also means that whenever they cast an elf, their next elf is going to be more expensive. So Damping Sphere should do a lot of work for us here. The Pithing Needles can name Quirion Ranger and Wildwood Symbiote, so these are definitely ones we want to keep in. Everything else seems fine. I don't think we need Not of This World for this. The only thing that they might have potentially is a Karakas, because sometimes they run a crop rotation for the Cradle, but I haven't seen builds like that for a while, so I'm just going to... I guess we can take out a Bojuka Bog. That's not something I'm going to need, and just leave in one Not of This World just in case. I guess we probably don't need the Karakas either here. Probably take that out for a Not of This World. But again, we don't want to cut too many lands. Maybe just keep the Karakas, because it is one of our mana sources is the issue, and we can't really afford to be missing mana here when we're trying to just cast Damping Sphere and things. Okay, we're going to submit like this. I don't think we need any Not of This World, but we've got one in anyway. So we have 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana. So we will need one more piece here, but we do have a lot of disruption. So we can probably keep this. It's not great, but it doesn't take much. If we draw any of our combo pieces, then we can get them pretty quickly. Verdant Catacombs for our opponent, they're almost certainly going to have a 1-drop here, because their whole deck is full of them. A Bayou, a Black Source, we're getting Thoughtseized here. So this is going to take our crop rotation, because we've got a lot of redundancy everywhere else. It could take our Elvish Spirit Guide for some elf on elf violence, but I don't think that's going to be what's going to happen here. Yeah, there's a crop rotation. So that sets us back a little bit. But our opponent is not committed anything to the board on turn 1, which is good for us. An Elvish Spirit Guide. Okay. So we are leading out on an Urborg, and we're Thoughtseizing our opponent. So we are just going to take the Elvish Visionary here. So they could draw a 1-drop and cast a Glimpse of Nature cantripping to cast a guy, which is very, very unexciting. This turn we're going to, on our next turn, we'll cast a Duress to take the Glimpse, unless they're casting the, okay, they just cast the Glimpse now. Okay, so we're going to cast the Thoughtseize next turn. There's Wooded Foothills. So this is just going to cantrip for 1, this Cradle, because there's not really much else they can do about it. They did draw a Heritage Druid, which is a pretty good one, but we get to take a peek at their hand, and our life total probably not that important right now. Okay, so we still need to draw any piece of our combo before we can do anything here. So I think we cast this. Let's see what our opponent's working with. A Nettle Sentinel. Sure. So we can play out our Ghost Quarter. And we have Elvish Spirit Guide if we need it to crop rotate something away. So we can crop rotate this into Dark Depths at end of turn. The only issue is if we draw a Dark Depths, then we can just crop rotate this anyway. So we may as well wait to see if we draw a Thespian stage or a Dark Depths or a Hexmage, and then we can work out what the correct one is here. Sure, so we're going to take a tiny bash from this guy. Assume we're seeing the other Catacombs here. Yep, there it is. A Lotus Petal. Right, we don't need to play the Petal out, I don't think. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand. I don't really want to fire off a Duress for 1 card. We can make our own Elvish Spirit Guide, but I don't think there's any point. I think we just hold back for a bit longer. Need to find any of our tutor pieces. We've got quite a few of them in our deck. We've got like Into the North. We've got Sylvan Scrying. We've got more crop rotations, or we could just draw the Hexmage, then we can just make a 2020. This clock is quite slow, so I'm not too worried about it right now. The Cradle now taps for enough that they can natural order, but it's not going to be a very big one yet. A Wooded Foothills, sure. A Thoughtseize. Our life total's getting a little bit dicey, but I think... Question, is it worth it for 1 card in our opponent's hand? I think we can take a look with the Duress, because we've got a spare Duress here. Because it's natural order is the main thing we're trying to hit. Archon of Valor's Reach. 1, 2, 3. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if they have a white source in their deck, they can play the Archon of Valor's Reach. I think we're supposed to Thoughtseize that away just in case they do have a white source they can fetch with their Wooded Foothills. Because that will just do us there. And we're back to staring at our opponent. We have 11 cards that we can draw. No, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I think we've got 19 cards we can draw that win us the game. If I've calculated that correctly. So we got 2 crop rotations, 3 Sylvan Scrying, 2 into the north, 4 Hexmage, 4 depths, 4 Thespian stage. All of these can win us the game. So the amount of time we have to draw those cards is now dwindling. But we've had like a 1 in 3 shot, or better than 1 in 3 shot to draw a card that wins us the game for a number of turns now. So I'm not unhappy with our situation. Verdant Catacombs. That doesn't really do it, does it? I guess we're just going to play out an Elvish Spirit Guide here off of a Snake-Cold Forest because you've already got the Urborg in play. That makes sense to me. Green, 1, black. We are putting down our Ghost Quarter for a turn, but our opponent, when they play their Cradle, gets to use it as soon as they play it. So it's not something we can really... they're not going to play it until they use it anyway, so we're never going to be able to interact with the Ghost Quarter until they've had 1 turn with it. Unless they foolishly play it out for some reason. Is our 2/2 elf going to keep some of them at bay? I imagine they might just swing in still. Because the clock is good for them if they do. Split is 2, 3, 4, 5. This Cradle we know about. So we might have to play the Nettle Sentinel, the Elvish Spirit Guide this turn. Into the north. Okay. So, how much mana do we need to do all these things? So if we cast Into the North off of these 2, we get the Dark Depths into play tapped. Then we have 2 mana here. So we have, yes, we have 1, 2, 3 mana here. So one of the manas gets us the Thespian stage. Then we have 2 spare mana, which isn't enough. A little bit of a pickle here. We can crop rotate now for Thespian stage. Wait, so if we crop rotate for Thespian stage, this gets us Thespian stage here. Then these 2, and then this and this cast into the north. Yeah, we can make the 20/20 this turn, right? I've done the maths here. So this and this into the north. And then this crop rotates into this. Yeah, okay. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I'm pretty sure I've done the calculations correctly. Because crop rotation puts the land in untapped. We have this Elvish Spirit Guide here. So this Dark Depths comes in tapped, and that's fine. And then we can crop rotate in our opponent's turn and make a 20/20. We can block these 2 and take 2 and go to 1. And then we kill them on the backswing. An Endurance. This is lethal, I believe. That was a very good last card to have in hand. Our opponent has to attack with everything. Maybe they'll miscalculate when they attack and I make my guy. Or they could just cast a natural order now and just really put us in the dirt. All the lads coming in? They are all coming in. So we are definitely dead on board here. But our opponent might miscalculate. Looks like they have correctly done the maths here because they haven't scooped. This one here, and we take exactly lethal. Sure, game 3. So I don't have any problem with any of the sideboarding we were doing here. I think it's all fine. I don't think I want to change anything. This all seems good to me. Let's just submit. So if our opponent doesn't actually have a white source in their deck and can't cast that Archon, then the 2 life we paid for the Thoughtseize cost us that game. I don't like this one. It feels a bit vulnerable and fragile here. I think, like we would need more mana to cast our spells. I think we mulligan this. Let's have the turn 1 Damping Sphere or a turn 1 Sylvan Scrying. If we Sylvan Scrying for Thespian stage, we still need more mana before we can do anything. We can cast a turn 2 Damping Sphere if we don't get Thoughtseized. But we kind of need mana to cast these. I don't like this. I think we have to... do we have to mulligan this one? It's close, isn't it? Because we can turn 1 Sylvan Scrying for... So this can be... We can get an Urborg. So this can be our green sources. We can have our Urborg for this. And then we just need to find any way of tuning. We can still blow up 2 of their things. So I think we... Or one of their things, depending on what we decide to keep here. So I think we bottom this. Say done. We go... Verdant Catacombs. Sacrifice this. We'll go and get... it matter if it's a forest or a bayou in this matchup? I don't think it does. They don't have wastelands. So we will exile this and cast this. We're going to go ourselves an Urborg here, because this just will fix our mana for the rest of the game and make our Dark Depths produce mana. So we can cast the orb next turn, the Damping Sphere, which stops our opponent having the really, really busted turns, and then we can just blow up their things. Like shutting off Cradle and all their other bits is going to be really good here. One of the few matchups where this is looking better than the Mindbreak Traps. Just a Nettle Sentinel, sure. That's fine by me. So no Cradle, and each spell is going to cost one more for every spell. It's like the Anti-Storm. It's like Tithe, but for every... It's like Mana Tithe for every spell that's been cast. Pretty good. So they'll be playing one spell this turn. In fact, if we can limit an Elves player to one spell a turn, and we've got Hexmages, Crop Rotations, Sylvan Scrying, a whole bunch of stuff that we can play that just gives us a 20/20. So I think we're in a good shape here. That's not one of them, sadly. But we will play this out and hold up our Abrupt Decay. So this is for each other player spell that player has cast. So I can't cast my Abrupt Decay in their upkeep to make their things cost more. Which is sad, but there we are. The fact that this shuts off Cradle is the big one. Aquarion Ranger, sure. This is going to untap their Nettle Sentinel. And we're in trying to draw one of many cards that exist in our deck mode. I think we just want to snap this off on this guy now. It's not the perfect target, but I think we need to use our mana this turn in case we draw something that lets us win the game. And this does just slow them down a turn. That's all we're doing. We're just buying lots of turns here. This means that they can't just natural order super easily next turn. Now, they might still be able to natural order, but there's nothing we can really do about that. I think they're deciding whether or not they want to untap their Nettle Sentinel. They did not. Okay. Come on, 2020 Enabler. Ghost Quarter. Our opponent's probably got more than one forest, so I don't think snapping this off is going to do anything to help us here. This just means we have more mana in case we draw a into the north. We can play into the north. Not into north. Into north doesn't do it for us, does it? We need Sylvan Scrying. Sylvan Scrying wins us the game. Crop Rotation wins us the game. Hexmage wins us the game. Alright, so we're going to take two from this Nettle Sentinel. They're just on the slow beats. Similar plan to last time. Riven Ice counters from it the hard way. Not really where we want to be, and it's not going to be quick enough anyway. It's right to do it, I think. Sejiri Steppe. Does that impact anything? So if we have a Sylvan Scrying, we already have enough to make a 20/20, so there's no reason to play this out that I can see. Unless we want to try and Ghost Quarter our opponent's turn, but I don't think we do. If our opponent can cast Natural Order, we lose. At this point, I think they've got enough guys here. They can do 4, sacrifice this, and it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, so Natural Order is lethal here. This Cradle doesn't tap for anything other than one colourless. It feels like a Natural Order turn. Oh no, just an Endurance. Well, that's still a creature that can beat us down, so not a fan, personally. I'm not shuffling anything in. Okay. So we can swing through an Endurance as well because of the Sejiri Steppe. Not looking spectacular for us. Any draw, like we've got a bunch of draws that do it. Okay, Sylvan Scrying, this does it for us. Alright. So we go green, black. This goes and gets us Thespian Stage. We play Thespian Stage. Because this taps for mana, we have 1, 2, 3. This makes a 20/20. So we have a 20/20, and we have the Sejiri Steppe to push it through the Endurance, which our opponent might be relying on to keep it going. We also have this Not of This World to keep our guy alive. So I think we are in an okay spot as long as our opponent doesn't have Natural Order. They didn't have it last turn, otherwise they'd have cast it, so it's whether or not they draw it this turn. If they do, I imagine they just slam it and win the game. Probably don't have it then. We can get blown out a little bit by a Bojuka here. They're putting the Bojuka on the Damping Sphere. Well, we can't actually do anything about that. But that's the Bojuka gone. We will go and get ourselves another land then. Let's just have a Bayou. So if our opponent can do some stuff with a Glimpse here, then we're in trouble. It has to be this turn though. They might think that they can take one hit because of the Endurance though. And obviously we didn't have any other tutor effects in our hand, otherwise we'd have cast them earlier. So they must assume that our hand just kind of has some relative blanks in. Okay, they just had... Well, they didn't need to blow up my thing anyway. They just had the win here. Alright, so these guys get big. They have to attack with 3 of their creatures here. I suspect they're going to attack with more than 3 of them. They might just attack with all of them. Okay, so they're holding this one back. That's a weird one to hold back. So we make this guy and put it here. We soak up this damage, but then these come through and hit us for lethal. So unfortunately, we are done. We just bricked on for too many turns in 2 games in a row. Like the first game, we had 19 draws out of, what, 40-something cards. And we just didn't hit them for several turns. It happens. Let's go on to the next round. We're on the play for round 2. Our hand is a little bit awkward just because of this Verdant Catacombs. And so we need green mana to cast this, but we also need mana for the stage, and if we want to fire off the Duress, we need mana for that as well. So probably like Urborg into Catacombs, fetching off of this, and that. So it's going to be a few turns actually. This one, might be too slow. There's so many things that speed this up though. I think we can keep it because we've got some disruption, we've got some protection. Our opponent's mulligan to 6. Right, let's Duress our opponent and see what they're working with. Alrighty then. So we're looking at turn 1 Thalia, probably. What we can do here, we can get rid of the Emeria's Call. So they have to put one of their threats underneath the Chrome Mox. But they can turn 1 White Plume if we do that. If we take the Chrome Mox, we stop them from turn 1 White Pluming. Same as if we take the Lotus Petal. The Chrome Mox costs 2 resources for them, but takes an additional turn. But gives them additional mana going forward for the rest of the game. So this is not the easiest choice. So this Chrome Mox is just going to imprint the Emeria's Call. And then they're going to make turn 1 Thalia, and then turn 2 White Plume. If we take the Chrome Mox, if they try and play a turn 2 spell, so they can't play Thalia into White Plume if we take the Chrome Mox. So I think it's the Chrome Mox here. We have the Karakas for the Thalia, albeit a bit slow, but we should hopefully have enough turns, unless they top deck something that allows them to play the White Plume on this turn. Oh god, they just drew a Chrome Mox off the top. Yikes. Not going to be our day, is it? Sure. Play your Lotus Petal, there we go. Play your White Plume Adventure. Play the most broken creature in the format right now. Sure, go ahead. What? They're playing Thalia. That's so weird to me. Play the White Plume out, surely. So we can't cast our Sylvan Scrying this turn, so I guess we're probably... so if we play... We're playing Sylvan Scrying next turn, so we can bounce the enemy Karakas. Or we can play out the Thespian stage. Next turn we can Sylvan Scrying. The turn after we make a 20/20. Or we can play the Karakas now, bounce this. Next turn we play the Sylvan Scrying. Then we have to wait another turn. Yeah, I think we just have to play the Thespian stage here. Just because of the mana constraints. I don't think we can wait that long with a White Plume Adventurer here and play next turn. Sure. Now, if they'd have played this turn 1, we'd be in a way worse spot. So, I don't hate where we are right now. Like, we are getting clocked for a huge amount of damage next turn. They're going to hit us for 5, 6, 7, plus another 5. Is that just too slow? Is 20/20 going to be too slow? They seem to be thinking about something in terms of attacking. I don't really know what they... Alright. This puts us to 18. Next time they hit us for 5, 6, 7. That puts us to 11. Then we take 5. But then we have a 20/20 to block with if we need to. So I think we're okay here. We need to draw an Elvish Spirit Guide, ideally. That way we can pay for the Thalia attacks on our Not of This World. That would be a good draw for us. Oh, there it is. Okay, maybe we can win this game. So we play out this Bayou. We cast this for green. 1, 1. Going to get ourselves the Dark Depths. So next turn we have Marit Lage with Not of This World backup. So we just have to survive this turn. So the most they can do is 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, I think is the most we can take this turn. Okay. Now, if they have 2 removal spells, then sure, I guess. I think we're in an okay spot right now. So we play out this Dark Depths. Oh, we actually, no, we had the mana to play around it already, actually, because of the Urborg tapping our Dark Depths token. All right. Going to bap us for 5. Ouch. So we have to make our Dark Depths in combat. Cavern of Souls. And there's a planes you already know, so they've got 2 mysteries in hand. Seasoned Dungeoneer. So this will give this guy protection from creatures. So this guy will hit us for 6 and we will die. God, I hate this deck. Okay. So if this depends on if our opponent does their plundering or not. If their explore pumps this guy, why are you attacking with just that guy as well? It's interesting. I guess it makes sense not to attack with this actually. What am I about? They're going to pump it? Of course they pump it. They always pump it. Oh, I hate this game sometimes. Alright. Let's make this guy. We can't block this because of how stupid Seasoned Dungeoneer is. Yep. So our opponent had to... This was the only card in our opponent's deck that wins in that game that they ripped there. Just like the Chromox was the best possible rip they had. So kind of on the wrong side of fate right now. So how are we going to approach this matchup? Sylvan Safekeeper gives us more protection for our opponent who's trying to play lots of like Swords to Plowshares type effects. So I don't hate those. Thoughtseizes and Duresses are a little bit interesting here. Pithing Needle names Touch of the Spirit Realm, which is okay, but not amazing. So we definitely don't need 3 of those, I don't think. I think this is not a Sylvan Library game, that's for sure. And we're looking at these things. So I think Duresses are probably ones we can cut. I know Thoughtseizes is hurting us, but this game is going to be over before then anyway. So if we keep this in, we can keep in things like Force of Vigor to blow up their mana base. That's certainly an option. The Thorn of Amethyst is okay on the play if we play this, but I don't think it's where we want to be. I think we just want to try and go a little bit faster. Do we want these Force of Vigors to hit our opponent's things? I think we probably do. Alright, we'll go with this configuration. This hand is really bad, so we'll mulligan it. This hand requires one thing, but I don't think we have a time to draw it, so we just have to mulligan again. Let's mulligan. Okay, this hand is a turn 3 2020 with the Thoughtseize. So we put back the spare Urborg. I guess we put back this because we might not want to pay 1 life to get our mana. So quite often I found turn 3 2020s aren't good enough against the White Initiative deck, which is a bit grim. But it's the world we live in. Our opponent's mulligan to 5 though, so hopefully our Thoughtseize will be pretty good here. Lotus Petal, Amira's Call, White Plume Adventurer. So if we take the White Plume Adventurer, our opponent's got nothing here. Obviously they're just going to draw a White Plume Adventurer on their first turn, but we should be in an okay spot here. A turn 3 2020 races that current hand that our opponent showed us. There's a Lotus Petal. I think it's just going to be tapped Amira's. No, Ancient Tomb. Interesting that they're not doing anything with it. Alright, that's us. A crop rotation. So if we've got time to wait 1 more turn, we can do our combo with Sejiri Steppe backup, which we might have to do. Although, no, my luck, I'll probably draw the Sejiri Steppe the turn I'm trying to attack in. Okay, if our opponent's not playing anything, we can afford to wait 1 more turn. Another crop rotation. If we're going for this slower line anyway, we should just play this out now in case we need to crop rotate something away. It's the safer line. Cavern of Souls. Okay, we are winning this game, I believe. We have two modes of protection. Our opponent has 3 cards in hand. And they can only have 2 white sources. So I don't think we can lose this game unless our opponent has a white source and then... Okay, so let's give it up there. That felt a bit better. Now we have to try and do that on the draw, sorry, which is going to be more challenging for sure. I guess we submit and see if we can make an early 2020. So this is the matchup where you really want to just do the Hexmage hand and just go on like turn 2. This hand does not make a 2020. This hand makes the turn 2 2020 with backup and protection from Touch of the Spirit Realm. So this is about as good as it gets for this matchup, I think. I guess the second Pithing Needle could be another Not of This World. That would be nice. But this is the hand we're keeping. Let's see how we do with it. A Chromox. We could be getting hit by a turn 1 White Plume Adventurer. Okay, sure. We might not be able to actually race this, which is absurd, but that is the nature of this deck at the moment. They only have 1 card in hand, so they have to rip... They got the planes as well. They only have 1 business spell in hand, though, so they have to be pretty fortuitous here. So... This turn we play out this Urborg. Let's Pithing Needle. Touch the Spirit Realm. No cycling for you. Or channel even, not cycling. So we can do this around a Thalia as well. So I think we are odds on to win this game. But, okay, yeah. So we have the Elvish Spirit Guide to play around a Thalia. And the Thalia will tax their own Source to Plowshares if that's what they're hoping for. Black, black. And here we go. Let me 2020 you. I've shut off one of their removal spells and I've got protection for another one. So we're losing 5 life this turn, but that's fine. Cavern of Souls, 2 cards in our opponent's hand. They've played the land out, so they can't play a Karakas this turn, which means we can make our 2020. Okay. So they're going to put the ability on the stack. We're going to cast this, targeting this. Exile this to pay for it. And that should be the game. Our opponent has no cards in hand. They're just waiting for the inevitable. Sure. We managed to get the initiative back, I guess. So we were pretty hard done by in that first game, even if I do say so myself, because, you know, the thing with Thoughtseize, they immediately drew. But sometimes that happens. But the other 2 games were fine. Like on the play, you can play a Thespian stage game with like a piece of disruption, Thespian stage against initiative. That sort of Dark Depth speed can work. Now it can still go wrong because the initiative can just play something really big on you and just ruin your day. But usually that gives you enough as long as you've got the ability to sort of combo on 3 or 4. If you're on the draw, you basically have to have a turn 2 Hexmage hand. Otherwise, you're going to lose the game, really. And then you're at the mercy of whether or not you have Not of This World, for the most part. So we did need a specific hand there, and we mulliganed, we found the specific hand. So, okay, that's all right. So we're on the board, going to the 3rd round, I think. This is an awkward hand. So a black source or a green source gives us the win. We have 2 draw steps to find those things. Now, there's a lot of cards in our deck. We do have relevant plays for a couple of turns at least. I think we do keep this, and we believe in the heart of the cards a little bit. Any green source, any black source, give me the source. Polluted Delta, sure. Now we could just draw Urborg on our first turn and just have the nuts. So Polluted Delta into Ponder makes me think our opponent is playing Doomsday, I guess. But we'll get a better idea when we look at their hand this turn. Thespian stage, okay. So that's fine too. Let's see what our opponent's working with, and we can work out what lines we have to take going forward. Okay, our opponent's playing a Brew. It's Temporal Mastery. Take an extra turn off this one, so it's a Miracle. So they're going to Miracle this on top of their library. And then they're going to take an extra turn. +1/+1 target creature phases out. They've got... I guess I don't want my opponent taking extra turns here, so I'm probably taking the Mastery before they can Brainstorm on top of their library, right? Our opponent has a Brew. Strand is gone. I suspect we're seeing a Ponder this turn. Torpor Orb doesn't affect us. So that's fine. Okay, so it's our turn now. So what are we doing here? Target creature phases out. I'm not actually sure of the interaction with phasing and tokens. Let me just look that up. Okay, so tokens don't phase out. That's good to know. So this turn I can cast... I can cast Sylvan Scrying this turn for an Urborg. Our opponent has 3 cards in hand, so the chance of them having... I think we just take the Urborg here because we've got double Hexmage and Thespian stage, so we can just keep smashing Hexmages into our opponent's face until it works. Our opponent could have a Wasteland, so I think we will still name Wasteland with this. Like, it's kind of free in some of these, in like a blue deck potentially. Now, I could regret doing that, but I just have to go on what I've seen, and I'm not just going to name a fetch land. It's not worth my time. The marginal upside I get from doing that versus how badly it goes if they do have Wastelands in their deck is not worth entertaining the possibility. I have to imagine our opponent is playing some sort of Stifle Naught deck because they've got Torpor Orbs and they're a blue deck, so they probably also have the Dress Down as another way of putting in there. So it could be mono blue Stifle Naught with these miracles. I don't know what our opponent's doing, so they're probably going to get us. What is this? Okay, Murktide region, that's fine. That does not beat a 2020. They can block and phase it out though, which is a little bit irritating. Another Urborg. Play this out, tap this for black, tap this for black. We'll leave our basic open actually. Let's play out this guy around a daze. Okay, so the Force of Will, slip out the back is gone. So the Ponder is floating on top of the library probably. Okay, so Our opponent's got no cards in hand. They might have a Ponder on top of their library. There's the Ponder, sure. So we get hit for 6 this turn. Then we hopefully make a 20/20. A True Name Nemesis. Okay, that doesn't block, so they can't phase this out now because they don't have the card to do that. They've got no cards in hand. I think we're in good shape here. Cast this for black. Black. So our opponent's got 1 draw here. They shuffle their library off the Ponder, so I don't have a great amount of faith that they have the thing. Let's see if they attack or not. They're attacking with both creatures. I think we have to take the opportunity to try and kill the Murktide here. Because they could play another Murktide if I let this through. They could also have a Stifle here, but they did not. So we'll block this guy. I haven't seen anything like a Karakas from our opponent, so I guess we Thoughtseize them just to see what they're working with. We get some more information as well, perhaps. Okay, so this will come back for our next turn. We've taken 2 for the pleasure. We can turn our Thespian stage into a Bayou if we like as well. A Brainstorm. So they're going to have 1 card, the best of 3 cards in their hand here. Okay, they didn't have anything. I am confused. But they're playing Temporal Mastery, so what do we do about Temporal Mastery? Abrupt Decay doesn't kill True Name Nemesis, so that's not going to help us out. They're probably going to be boarding in some amount of ways of messing with our stuff. I don't even think we need... Like, the Pithing Needles are the thing that I don't know if we need. So we could board in these Thorn of Amethysts just to mess with our opponent's ability to cantrip. I don't hate that, but it also doesn't seem great. We could board in Sylvan Safekeepers just as ways of protecting our guy, because our opponent's probably going to have stuff for this. The crop rotation could be a little bit dubious in the face of our opponent being like counter spells and stuff, so maybe we're looking at trimming some crop rotations here in favour of these 2 Thorn of Amethyst. Like, none of this looks good to me, if I'm being honest. But we've got a game in hand. We can hopefully see a bit more of our opponent's deck. I think this is a relatively safe thing. There is an argument for boarding in these Abrupt Decays just as an emergency valve that we can have in our deck. But I think we're just going to use our hand disruption to do that instead. In a blue deck, they're more likely to bounce our creatures than they are anything else. Is Sylvan Library going to be good enough in this matchup? Our opponent's deck looked relatively slow. Now, if the Sylvan Library doesn't go anywhere, then what happens is the problem. I think we just mulligan this one. So we're looking at here. No, I think we can do better still. This leaves us looking for 4 Thespian stage, 4 crop rotation. No, we haven't got the crop. Sylvan Scrying. So I think we can keep this one. It's not great, but we can keep it. They haven't shown us a Karakas is going to be worthwhile. Would we rather have a 1/1 or the surprise 7-mana spell, or would we rather have this Elvish Spirit Guide? I think the Spirit Guide is going to come in handy this game. It means that we can accelerate things a little bit more, or we can just get rid of all our protection because our opponent looks like it might be a slow deck. So we can keep all our protection. Yeah, okay. We're keeping our protection because our opponent's deck looks a bit slow, and they're going to be the control in this matchup, I would imagine. Now, they're playing Temporal Mastery in their deck, so who exactly knows? I certainly don't. We didn't see any Wastelands. Is there any reason not to play this out? Yeah, we want to play the black lands in case we draw Hexmage. So play out Sylvan Safekeeper. Now, they can daze this. I don't really care if they daze this too much. Don't brainstorm like this. Oh, okay, so they're dazing. They do not need to brainstorm this turn, unless their hand has no lands in. But even so, they're about to play a second land, so... Okay, they didn't do a brainstorm, that's good. Right. So now we have a crop rotation. So now we have some of the tools that we want to work with. So I think we play out the Verdant Catacombs in case we find a spot to crack it when they don't have Stifle mana up, because they might be a Stifle deck. They're playing Torpor Orb, so... Okay, so we'll crack this in response. This will go and get us a basic forest. So they can't stifle us around that. And let's see how their brainstorm goes. A lesser player would have brainstormed with that mana floating off days, trying to be responsible with their mana instead of actually just getting the most value out of their brainstorm. And a ponder, sure. Not of this world. So we can play out this Dark Depths this turn. Next turn we can crop rotate for a Thespian stage. Now, our Thespian stage might get countered. This is a true name. No, there's 1 mana up. A Murktide, sure. For the purposes of Force of Negation. I think we're incentivized to cast crop rotation now. This is a very good one to counter for them, but we can pay around a daze. We're getting a Force of Will out of this, pitching a daze. Okay. So we'll play out this Bayou, and we're going to take a 6, 6, 6, and then we'll be dead. So we've got a little bit of life total to work with. We've managed to get our way through a daze and a Force of Will. I would like to see my opponent's deck. I was always tempted to bring in Surgical Extractions just so I can see what my opponent's doing. Okay, so we do need to draw something in the near future. I'd like to know what sort of answers my opponent's brought in. It doesn't look like it's some sort of prism piece, because we would have seen that by now. Sejiri Steppe. That doesn't do anything for us. I think playing it so we can hold back on blocks, so that they can't hold back the Murktide on blocks is going to be worth doing. So if they can remove a card from their graveyard with a Mystic Sanctuary this turn, we will die. Otherwise we get one more draw step, which has to be a 2020 enabler. Ideally, one they can't counter, but we shall see. Now, if they play a Murktide, not Murktide Regent, a Trino Nemesis in their second main phase, we will be dead to that as well. They did not. So we've got a draw step. A Lotus Petal. We are dead. We will concede. Right, let's go to... So, I really don't know what our opponent is up to here. See, the crop rotations, they look bad there, as expected. The question is, do we have anything better? I don't really want to be trying to surgically extract my opponent's things. That doesn't feel like it. Or maybe just clearing the way and having a look is... I don't think that's better than a crop rotation. Like, we've got 8 discard effects, so I think we should be fine. And the Thorn of Amethyst can really slow down our opponent's cantrips and make the Murktide be very slow. Oh, this hand is close? No, wait, this hand is turn 1, Sylvan Scrying, Sylvan Scrying, Urborg, Thoughtseize. Yeah, okay. We'll do that. And then turn 2, Hexmage. Cast this, exile this, exile this. They counter this, it's a 3 for 1. Okay, they did not do that. So Urborg, we'll play Urborg. We will Thoughtseize our opponent and see what they're working with. Back to basics. Daze, Delver, Brainstorm. Interesting. I guess we take the Daze here, just so we can guarantee our Hexmage next turn. And then let's see what happens. So our opponent's probably casting a... They might cast... If they cast Delver this turn, they're relying on just the one card in their hand. So our opponent is on a more aggressive deck than I thought. I probably should have guessed they might have had Delvers because they had the Dazes. Okay, so there's a Lotus Petal. There's the island. Okay, they're holding up. Interesting. So play this one out. Play this one out. They got one card. They got one mystery card in hand, right? Okay, so they're brainstorming, so they get 3 mystery cards in hand. We can Bojuka Bog and clear the graveyard next turn if we need to. Okay, so we have our Hexmage. We have to play around a Stifle. A Torpor Orb. Okay, sure. So they had an island and a Torpor Orb off of the extra cards they've seen. Do you have a Stifle? Like, our hand doesn't have any way to keep protecting. Sure, they do have a Stifle. Shit. Another Dark Depths. Okay, so we exile their graveyard. So Murktide isn't a problem for a while. I figured... I think I probably have to go for it there because they're just going to keep playing their other stuff out. We didn't see a Stifle in the other 2 games. The fact they still have Torpor Orb in. Okay, yeah, they are a Dreadnought deck, sure. Okay, their hand is pretty good. Another Urborg. That doesn't do anything for us. Alright, so we're going to take 15 this turn, I think. No, we're going to take 13. And they're going to play back to basics, which doesn't really matter because the only draw that matters for us now makes a 2020 anyway. Sure. They have 1 card in hand, which is probably back to basics. Now we just draw nothing. Sure. So, I don't know, we can... So, the way our opponent's hand lays out there, we don't have the opportunity to play around Stifle because they're just going to be playing out Delver and threats, and they can always hold up the Stifle. There's no reason our opponent ever has to drop the Stifle, so it's better to play into it and hope that they don't have it. And they did, so we lose, which is a shame. Alright, on to the 4th round. This is a turn 2 2020 with Thoughtseize, so we will keep this. Let's see what you're working with over there. Circle of the Land Druid, what is that? When it enters the battlefield, you may mill 4 cards. You may put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. When Circle of the Land Druid dies, return target land card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Like, I guess we just take a, I don't know, Stitches. I guess we take the card we don't like. It's the odd one out. We're going to play this because we saw a Wasteland in their hand. So if they Wasteland our Bayou, we can turn it into an Urborg, so we can still turn 2 2020. If in doubt, take the weird card, right? There's the Swamp. So we're going for Stitches Supplier. Because we don't have a Bojuka and a Wasteland, we're going to make our 2020 on our opponents. On our next turn, sorry. Okay, so Vengevine and stuff. Some sort of Bridgevine. Another Thoughtseize. I don't think we need another Thoughtseize here. Play this out. Play this out. So black. Black. Make this. Play around the Bojuka in the Wasteland. Pass a 10. This should prove somewhat difficult for our opponent to deal with. Okay. So our opponent is some sort of Dredgevine deck. So I think these Surgical Extractions are going to be something we would like to have. The Abrupt Decays may be useful too. We saw Wasteland, so we want to keep our Pithing Needles. Thoughtseize and Disruption seems alright. I don't know if this is going to be a library game, and I don't know how much we're going to need in terms of Not of This World. Karakas traditionally is alright against these decks because they have Hogak, so I will keep that in there. Bojuka Bog, obviously very good. Now, we need to make 2 more cuts. I think it's probably going to be these Not of This Worlds. Black decks aren't really going to be able to target our guy. Does that mean we should just remove all of them, though? And board in a couple of, like, Abrupt Decays or something? Or do we board in Sylvan Safekeeper to block and remove bridges that they might have? So, like, Bridgevine. Is that better? I think the Abrupt Decays will be better. We're going to submit like this. And see how we go. Opponent's on a little bit of a brew. It's a cool one. Okay, this is a turn 2 2020 with Wasteland Protection. Like, sure. We can't cast our Sylvan Scrying, but we might draw into something that lets us do it, or our opponent might cast a play a Yawgmoth. Once upon a time. A Wasteland, sure. If they play out the Wasteland, that's bad news for us. But if they play out a Swamp, we're okay. Sure. If they held the Wasteland up, they could take out our Urborg in response to our Pithing Needle. So, Pithing Needle on Wasteland, please. They have 2 Hogaks, so they can probably make a Hogak next turn. And we can make a 2020 on our turn. Now, if they have the Altar of Dementia line, they might just be able to mill us out next turn. Just go for the combo. Sure. Taking 1 damage here is a lot better than what we could be taking. A Verdant Catacombs and a pass. So this looks like our opponent is playing a holding up for Bojuka, is my assumption here. So if they Bojuka our Dark Depths, we can fix our mana and we have a second Dark Depths anyway. So if they have a Bojuka, they should do it now on our Dark Depths, which I think is what's happening. Assassin's Trophy on it. Sure, same difference really. So we will go and get this Snow-Covered Forest. We do not have the crop rotation here, but next turn we can play our Dark Depths and Sylvan Scrying for Bojuka Bog. We can't put the Bojuka into play though. Into the north, we can into the north at Dark Depths in, and then if we draw a Bojuka Bog from hand, we can play it. I'm not sure we need to do all those things. Okay, so there's the Wasteland that we knew about. So this will attack, and I'm not going to block because I don't want to mill them 3 more cards. Taking 1 damage is fine here. A Lotus Petal is quite handy though. Is it actually? So we can pay 2 to go get Bojuka Bog. No, we can't actually do everything we want here, can we? We just play out this Lotus Petal and play out this Dark Depths. And then we Sylvan Scrying. I think we Sylvan Scry here for maybe just another Dark Depths, honestly. So we can either get the Thespian stage or we can get the Dark Depths. I think maybe we get the Thespian stage because we already have the Into the North. We could always just get the Bojuka Bog. I'll take the Thespian stage. It feels like our opponent isn't really doing anything and they're just sort of holding back in the sort of control route here. So this way just gives us maximum amount of... We should have attacked for 2 there, that was a mistake. Although this can potentially block a Vengevine if needs be. So actually I think it's probably right to do that. What are you doing here? Assassin's Trophy on our Pithing Needle. Okay, so we will make our 2020 in response. Yeah, so our opponent's just got a load of control things and isn't really doing their thing. I think they're probably better off trying to race us with like minimal disruption. But we get 2020. We will lose our Pithing Needle, but we'll go and get Oh no, our swamp's in hand, so we won't actually be getting any basics off of this, which is annoying. Look. Whereas Sejiri would let us get the Bayous. So they could have like an edict effect, but they've already got these Assassin's Trophies, so I doubt they have much more above and beyond that. Once upon a time. So they're digging for something. They could maybe have some sort of... Okay, they didn't have anything. So we put that one away pretty easily. We didn't even have to do any of the silly Bojuka Bog stuff to hit the graveyard deck. On my channel a little while back, I played a Bridgevine deck, and it felt very poor. Just the way the meta is at the moment. And yeah, I think also our opponent sideboarded in a fashion that was far too reactive. Whereas what they need to do is be making turn 2 Hogaks, really. And putting a load of damage on the board and say, maybe I can race you. I think that's the best way. Rely on just your wastelands and then just try and make the guys. I don't think it's worth doing Assassin's Trophy type stuff here. All right. That is 2 and 2, I think, going into the final round. So we'll see if we get our money back. All right. So this hand makes a turn 1 Sylvan Library into some other stuff. I think on the play this is good. Turn 1 Sylvan Library should do a lot of work for us. We have Wasteland Protection as well. Opponent's running into 6 cards. Okay, our opponent has kept their 6 card hand. So I think we lead out on the Forest here just because if we lead out on the Urborg and get Wasteland, it's going to be a real pain for us. And we want to get the Library down first rather than the Needle. So let's Library. All right. So this is probably not going to get Prismatic ending on turn 1. There's been a lot less Prismatic endings in the format of late because there's so much in the way of aggro that sometimes paying 3 mana for these White Plume Adventurers that come down turn 1 isn't really a good way of trying to kill them. A Mox Diamond. Let's see what goes here. A Wasteland. An Urborg. Okay, so it could be in a mirror rematch. Him to Turak. This is good. Is the Thoughtseize to follow up? Or no, green. Okay, so it's like Pox maybe? Ritual Pox. Interesting. Losing the Pithing Needle was a little bit annoying. But we'll hit the old library. It's pretty good against poxy type things. Our opponent wants to grind away resources, so we're just going to say no to that, I think. I think we just into the north here. Put this Dark Depths into play. We can play this out. The other option was keeping this in hand, so we have something to discard if our opponent's got hymns. Our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. And we know that they are, one of them is a land that they pitched to the Mox Diamond. We can just see what ones they targeted were. Returns Wasteland, sure. So they can Wasteland our Dark Depths here, which I suspect is what they were going to do. Hitting that Pithing Needle was a bit of a big hit for us, but they have choice of what they take here. I imagine it's probably going to be the Dark Depths, but they might try and wait. Now they have an Urborg, which is helping us out. Okay, they've taken the stage here. They're going to cast this Life from Alone and get the Wasteland back? Sure. So Wasteland, Saga. So if I can find stage or crop rotation here, we win the game. I believe. Now we could get hit by Liliana or something. But Thoughtseize, Spirit Guide, Sylvan Scrying. Put this on top of Library. Guess we didn't really need the Spirit Guide now, do we? Put on top of Library. I think we Thoughtseize our opponent using our Herbal, using our... Okay, so we know they have no... The other card in their hand was just one of those. So we have this Sylvan Scrying that we can play. How is that going to impact things? We can Sylvan Scrying and put in a Thespian stage that our opponent might be able to just Wasteland again. We need to cast a Sylvan Scrying because we want to shuffle the cards on the top of our library. So I think we are casting... I want to play this one out. We'll cast this. So black, green... So what are we looking at here? I think we get the Thespian stage. We could Bojuka Bog, but they have 2 Wastelands in hand, so I don't think that's a route to victory here. We get a Thespian stage. We've already lost 1, so I'm slightly more likely to draw the Dark Depths and into the north, also tutors for it, but we can't tutor for the... so we're kind of looking at the let's try and Bojuka Bog, crop rotate for the win plan here. Now our opponent could just keep a Wasteland up at all times and then play the second Wasteland. That would be very good against us. But if they just fire it off immediately, it's not the end of the world. But they're going to keep doing that until we don't have any ways of playing the game. Sylvan Library, do some work. A Knot of this World and a Ghost Quarter. Neither of these are great. So we'll put this on top of our library and this on top of our library. So we're probably going to use Ghost Quarter to shuffle our own library here, which is real bad, but we don't need that many more resources from where we are now to win, and having these 2 blank cards on top of our library isn't going to go anywhere. I have to imagine the Wasteland comes out here. If it hits our Urborg, we probably Ghost Quarter it and turn it into the basic Swamp, because we're going to be losing our Ghost Quarter soon anyway. Okay, so Forest is what we discarded. White mana. Crucible of Worlds, card I love. And they're playing the Wasteland from their graveyard, sure. Okay, so we've shuffled away. There's a bad card on top. Our opponent's Urborg is helping us, potentially. A crop rotation, please. Okay, so we can win the game now. Do we need to... We don't want this one, so we put this on top of hand. On top of library. So this crop rotates. So we play the Thespian stage. This crop rotates into Dark Depths. Then we make it. So we keep this in hand so that we can Dark Depths them first. Does that work? So we can Duress them first? Yeah, we can Duress our opponent first here because of our opponent's Urborg. So this is to see if they've got a... Oh wait, no, we know the 2 cards now. We don't need to do that actually, do we? We just play this one out. And... doesn't matter which one we crop rotate here. I guess the black one is worse here, isn't it? So we will get rid of our Snow-Covered Swamp. Go and get ourselves the Dark Depths. Copy this using this and this mana. Keep this one. Make it 2020. Our opponent has 1 draw step to find Liliana of the Veil. They might have Sudden Edicts in the main, but they're probably in the sideboard. Okay, so we got there in the end. So we got Wastelanded a whole bunch of times. So, I would like some more Pithing Needles, but we don't have those. Force of Vigor looks alright. Surgical Extraction looks alright. These guys are going to be good because they're creatures that can get sacrificed to Edict effects. Abrupt Decay can kill Liliana. So this has got text. It can kill Liliana and it can kill Crucible and Mox Diamonds and things. So I think it's a case of is that better than... I think the Abrupt Decays are better than the Force of Vigor because these kill Liliana. The Knot of this World isn't going to do anything because our opponent isn't targeting our creature, that's targeting us. So that leaves us with 4 things to cut. I don't think Thoughtseize and Duress is necessarily where we need to be here. They're kind of trying to grind us with lands. The Sylvan Library was very good. The Karakas, our opponent could be running the Sheoldred. I don't know if we actually need Sejiri Steppe here. It's a mono black deck with a splash of green for Life from the Loam. I don't think Sejiri Steppe is doing anything here. Now, I could be mistaken about that. Ghost Quarter is another way of blowing up Wasteland, so we have to keep that in. I'm looking at some of our discard effects. We do need to hit Liliana's, perhaps, so these might be okay. The mana ramp is good. We want to keep our Spirit Guides because we can cast them into Liliana's. So we're cutting 3 of these. I don't think we care about any of their creatures. We can just cut 3 Thoughtseize, especially on the draw. Alright, we'll go like this. Trying to get ourselves our money back, so... This hand is not a keeper. This is kind of similar to previous hands, so we're going to keep this. Now, we have choices as to what we put back here. Because the thing we're missing is a Dark Depth, I think we probably put the Sylvan Scrying back rather than the Into the North. That could be wrong. We want to keep the Sylvan Library because it's just really good against him to Turax and stuff. Now we might just get him on turn 1. Mox Diamond. So our opponent's on a functional 5-card hand. A Thoughtseize. Let's see what they take. So we can play out the Lotus Petal so we can crop rotate away any of the things that our opponent plays. Or we can play out the library. So whether or not we want to crop rotate against Wasteland or not remains to be seen. They took the library. Okay, that's taking the choice out of our hand. And there's a Saga. Sure. 2 cards on our opponent's hand. Play out this Urborg. And play out this Lotus Petal. So if we can Into the North this turn and next turn make a 20-20. But if our opponent has a Wasteland, we just lose. which is awkward. They've got 2 cards in their hand. How do I feel? Do I feel lucky? I guess we don't need to do that. We can just slow roll it anyway, because our opponent's not going to win quickly necessarily. Now, if they like Urborg us and take all of our... they have an Urborg in place, so they can just him to Karakas us. That's going to be bad. But they're probably going to be wanting to get these Urza Saga tokens going, which does mean that we're probably going to have to worry about Pithing Needle a little bit here. So if we play this out, so we tap for this for black, we sack this for green, sack this, get the Dark Depths. So we can make a 20-20 this turn. If our opponent has a sacrifice effect, we lose the game. But we have to kind of do this before the Pithing Needle goes off anyway. So I think we go for it here. We can shut our opponent off of black mana, perhaps, or some of it. They still can Liliana, can't they? All right, let's try this on for size. Oh, what am I doing? I don't have an Urborg in play anymore. I've made a horrible mistake here. This doesn't tap anymore. Oops. Oh my god. Last game of the night, it's gone midnight. That was a bit of an error. I'm going to lose this game because of it, I suspect, because they're going to get Pithing Needle this turn on Thespian stage. Now, we do have these Abrupt Decays we brought in. There is an argument for bringing in the Force of Vigors as well against our opponents, so we might be doing that, especially with Urza Saga. Maybe that's a better play. So, yeah, so they're going to make some threats, and then they're going to go and get Pithing Needle. They're going to name Thespian stage, and then we're going to need to draw a Vampire Hexmage or a Abrupt Decay before our opponent kills us. Currency Converter. That's not Pithing. Okay, so they have a Wasteland here. Not ideal. Yeah, we really messed up our last turn. We deserve to lose this game, so I don't mind if I lose this one. Well, I mind about myself, but like, you know, it's cool if my opponent beats us because we deserve to lose. So play this. Can't believe they didn't get the... We should have played the Urborg out, actually. That was a mistake as well. Just making mistakes left, right, and centre now. This is embarrassing. So we play the Urborg out. If we draw Thespian stage, we can make it 20-20. If we draw Crop Rotation, we can make it 20-20. Okay. Yeah, so now we don't have the Urborg. So we're going to turn behind here. So we have this. Would I rather have permanent mana or mana for another turn? I guess turning the Lotus Petal into... so this is 8, so we're dead on board anyway. We may as well concede. Yeah, we punted that game pretty horribly. So I think we do want these Force of Vigors now, seeing what our opponent's working with. So let's keep these in. These are green spells, so I'm quite happy about having those in. Probably get rid of the Thoughtseize here. Surgical extractions seemed less important than I thought they were going to be honest. Life from the Loam is only part of our opponent's thing, so maybe having one and all the ways of shooting for Bojuka Bog is enough. We just want to go quickly. So let's try it like this. But first, this is an unkeepable hand. It has no mana. This has Pithing Needle for Wasteland into turn 2 Library. Or it has turn 1 Library and then Pithing Needle, which is probably better. So I think we'll keep this. And we throw back the extra stage here. And say done. So we're probably getting basic forest off of this. And then we cast this. Now, our opponent can him to Karakas on turn 1 and cause us some problems if they have the Mox Diamond start again. If they don't have a Mox Diamond start, then I think we're looking all right in this game. They have one of their 4 Mox Diamonds. Feels like they do, and they're working out what they need to pitch to it at this point. There it is. So if we get him this turn... Well, we got the library in play, so that's the main thing. So we can draw a bunch of cards of it. So discarded a Wasteland, sure. Basic Forest into Exploration. Okay, so they're Exploration pops. We didn't see that in the previous game. Are they hemming us now? They are. Okay, so this is very good for them at least. So we're not dead yet, but we're in a bad shape. Our opponent doesn't have a hand that actually wins them the game anytime soon, by the looks of it. Well, I don't know what's in their hand right now, but the setup isn't that scary. Okay, so we have a Sylvan Scrying. And we're just going to keep all these cards. So, what do I care about being wastelanded here? I think we play this out. Cast this for... It's a bit of a tricky one, actually. We could get the Bojuka Bog, or we could go and get ourselves an Urborg, which kind of gives us a bit more mana along the way. Or we could go for redundant copies of cards we've got in our hand. I think we just take the Urborg here. My opponent keeps hemming my Pithing Needles. It's very frustrating. Sure, if they cast Life from the Loam this turn, that's bad for us. They did not cast Life in the Loam this turn. Okay. We have a Force of Vigor. That's pretty good for us. Let's see what we draw. We don't need another Dark Depths right now. We don't need the Swamp either. We put this on top of Library first, and then the Dark Depths, I think. And we play out this Thespian stage. And then we will copy our Snow-Covered Forest. And we have a 2020 next turn. Even if they him to Karakas, we can still 2020 them. And we might be able to use this Force of Vigor for something as well. I guess they can take out our Ghost Quarter, actually. Okay, they're not doing anything this turn. So they're just holding up for the Urza Saga token. Sure. So we get to see a new card. Can put this on top of Library and this on top of Library. And we'll play out the Depths. Then I think in our opponent's turn, so we let them get 1 token, possibly 2 tokens here. And then we're probably blowing up some of their stuff. Sure. Let's make a token. And in your upkeep, so we're going to cast this. So we're going to hit your Urza Saga. Do we take out that token here? Do we take out their Mox Diamond? If we take out their Mox Diamond, it means it's going to be harder for them to get black mana this turn as well. So I think I like taking out the Mox Diamond. And we'll exile this. And then we're going to make our 2020, whilst our opponent doesn't have a Wasteland in play. So our opponent has to have a Sudden Edict and a land. Smallpox. Same but different, I guess. I guess we get rid of the one that's not green. And we're going to take 1 damage from this guy. So we're Hellbent. We're both Hellbent, but I have a Sylvan Library. Now, my life total is not an infinite resource. But we know there's a Dark Depths on top of our library. So that's step 1. There's another Dark Depths. We can probably afford to pay 4 life here. Just to keep ourselves going. Pay 4 life to keep this one in hand. Put this one on top of our library. And then do we play out the Swamp? Do we play out the Dark Depths? Probably need the black mana first. So if we play out the Dark Depths and our opponent plays out an Urborg, then we are in line for winning that way. If we play out the Dark Depths and there's a crop rotation and a Thespian stage available, we can't take them both actually. So we're in a bit of a spot here. We're going to lose because of the game I punted, I think. Now, we might not have won that game. Okay, our opponent top decked a Wasteland. Top decking like a god over there. Pretty bad for us. Sure. Now, we have another Dark Depths here. So we'll use the ability here. Yikes. It's on top. Put this on top. And I think play this out again. Next time we get a shuffle off of our Verdant Catacombs. Kind of wish I had a Dryad Arbor in my deck at this point. Which is good against all these sort of sacrificey decks. Okay, so drew a redraw. Another Wasteland. Another Wasteland, sure. Yeah. Okay, so our opponent's drawn 3 of their Wastelands here. And they had the Smallpox, so I don't think we win this one. I think we are on the bad side of variance here. But again, we kind of punted the second game, so this Duress doesn't do anything. I think we have to put both of these on top and play this out. And shuffle our library to try and hit into an Abrupt Decay or something, just to keep ourselves alive and in the game for a bit longer. Grim state of affairs, but here we are. Yeah, we also played around the Sudden Edict rather than the Smallpox, but bit of an awkward one. Let's see, Life from Malone, getting back a bunch of stuff. Okay, so this game is over. We can't get a basic for our Verdant Catacombs here, and they're going to be making some guys in the very near future. This has to shuffle. We can't remember what's on top of our library. Get this Bayou. Now, our opponent's going to wasteland this before we go to our turn, I suspect. Yeah, there we go. But the shuffle was the important thing there. We do have a black source in hand if we do draw. Okay, a crop rotation would have been good some turns ago. Our opponent hasn't got an Urborg in play. We can make a Vampire Hexmage this turn. No, we can't, because we're going to get one of these cards, right? That's the problem here. So, what can we crop rotate into? We can crop rotate into a Bojuka Bog. That doesn't help us out. We can't deal with this construct token. We can't cast this guy because they wastelanded our land. I think we're just dead here. Let me just scoop it up. Sure. Alright, so we end up with a 2-3, which is very disappointing, to be honest. Right, let's have a little look at the deck. Quick talk about the matchups as well. The Blue Delver deck, they had to brainstorm into the answer, and they did, and we lost. So that was a bit unfortunate. So we were quite close on that one. That last game against Pox, we punted one of the games because we just thought our opponent had an Urborg in play when they didn't. So that didn't work out for us very well. And the final game, they had to have one specific thing. We played around one thing, they had the other thing. Bit awkward, but that's how things are sometimes. So I think like this deck feels fine. You can just come down on the wrong side of variance sometimes and get a bit ruined. The fact that the Hymn to Thorax our opponent cast always hit our Pithing Needle was really frustrating as well. So we could have played slightly tighter, especially in the game we punted, but we also got pretty unlucky as well in the matchups and stuff. Like Pox is a very bad deck at the moment in the meta because it can't beat the initiative decks. Because if they just get the initiative, it just sits in play while the Pox decks goes and, you know, drains his life from the loam and stuff, but then they're just getting free creatures and abilities and stuff out of it. So I think Botch and Roll played the Pox deck on his channel recently, and he was saying how the matchup is so bad against initiative. He was playing initiative creatures in it purely so he could take the initiative back because Pox simply can't beat the initiative. So a bit unlucky that we got paired into that, and a bit unlucky with some of the draws. But again, we could have played tighter and maybe won that second game. Would have been a bit difficult to play around the small Pox. I suppose we float the mana first, and then we're okay. So yeah, we played around the Wasteland, and we played around the Sudden Edict. But I think I would probably still do that same play in the same situation. I think on the percentages, it's more likely to work out in our favour, but when it doesn't, it doesn't. So yeah, this deck feels good. I think if you expect to see more sack effects and things, a Dryad Arbor in your deck or potentially your sideboard is not a bad idea. It just gives you the ability to have something to pull out and avoid getting hit with. You have to do it proactively because Sudden Edict has split second though. However, it's still a very real thing that you might want to have in your deck. The Karakas didn't really come in, but it's obvious. It didn't really do very much this league, but it's still a good card. I think a 2-3 is a very harsh record for this deck today. I felt like a 3-2 league in terms of the games and how they played out, but it was just not to be, unfortunately. So, yeah, another depths deck in the books. The sideboard, actually, is something I really like to comment on in this deck. So I like the 4 Not of This World. I think that's a really good piece of tech, considering the amount of Solitude and Swords to Plowshares effects. The increase in initiative decks has also increased removal in other decks. So more people have more ways of dealing with things. So more Not of This World makes sense to me, and I like having the full 4 here. That's definitely something I'm a fan of. Into the North is not something I like, to be honest. I think it's quite slow and clunky, and the fact that you have to put them into play can be a bit annoying. What I would rather have would be a 4th Pithing Needle and a 4th Sylvan Scrying. I think that would just be better. And then we can also get a Bojuka in our deck, because we don't have a Bojuka, which feels like an error to me. Bojuka is just really, really good to go and find and blow stuff up with. Quite how you fit it in. Not entirely sure of the best place to stick it in here. But I think we do want one. Again, this is where the Rainbow Depths deck is slightly advantaged, because instead of having fetch lands and these lands and fetch lands and jewels and stuff, you've just got a load of rainbow lands, so it's much easier to squeeze in like 1 or 2 extra lands like Bojukas and things. So I think this deck is slightly worse than the Rainbow Depths deck for that reason. But yeah, I think that's about it for the main deck. I don't like Into the North, but it's a cool card. I see why it's in the deck, but I think it's more cute than it is good, to be honest. All right, the thing about sideboard I wanted to mention. The Thorn of Amethyst Damping Sphere package. I am not a fan. Like, obviously, the Damping Sphere was pretty reasonable against elves. Obviously, we got killed by a top deck Natural Order, which ruined our day. But I think the Thorn of Amethyst isn't the best card that you can be playing against Storm decks. They don't really have much trouble dealing with an artifact in play. I think what you want is the Mindbreak Trap. Because the Thorn of Amethyst, how often are you going to cast that on turn 1? So you have to be on the play and you have to have an Elvish Spirit Guide or a Lotus Petal and your Thorn of Amethyst. I just don't think that's reasonable in that matchup to do. Now, there are other matchups where it is good, sure, but I think you want Mindbreak Traps, which means you probably don't want this Damping Sphere and you just want 4 Mindbreak Traps and just go, this is how I'm beating Storm, and maybe it can come in against some other stuff. The Surgical Extraction, maybe it should be Ley Lines, I'm not sure. The Abrupt Decays, fine, that makes sense. Same with the Force of Vigors. I don't think there's any issue there. So that side of the deck's fine. Like, personally, I don't see why you play this over Rainbow Depths. I used to play the Green-Black Slow Depths that I played on the channel the other day with, like, Dark Confident and stuff. But I think if you're playing Turbo Depths, you should just go all in with the Rainbow Lands and get people that way. Alright, I think that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this Christmas, New Year's Eve, Limbo week first of my Depths decks. I think I've got 2 more Depths decks to do, and then I've done 12 for December, and that'll do me. And that'll round out my year of content. So if you've been enjoying this, like, comment, subscribe. They don't cost you anything. They really help me out. So please help me out. Also, if there's any decks you want to see going into the new year, when I'm not going to be doing Depths decks all the time, that'd be really cool. If there's things you want to see, I've already got a few requests put in, but if you've got something that you're burning to see played, then by all means send it my way. You can post whole deck lists in the comments, I don't mind. It's always good to have a little flick through. And yeah, that's it. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.